All right. So I read an article. It was published in like February 2020 that there are people in the world that do not have an inner monologue, and like not just a few people, like a lot of people. And I was just
Oh,
wondering if anybody in this group doesn't have like a voice in your head that talks. Like, do you talk
oh,
to yourself?
yeah.
Like I
And
could definitely
like, and if you
have inner
don't,
thoughts.
yeah, like if you
Mhm.
don't, like, how weird do you think that would be to like go through life and not
I can't
like
even
inner
imagine it.
monologue to
It's
yourself?
so
Apparently,
weird.
there's a
But like,
lot of people.
Well, okay. So like this is something that people always talk about, like deaf people. Like obviously deaf people think about like people that
Yeah.
are born deaf. Obviously if you were deaf, later in life. But I mean, and none of us are deaf, so we don't really have any insight on this. But I mean, so
true.
obviously like they think
That's
and they
interesting.
have like their like they follow the same chain, like the thought chain, but like
I don't think in words like we do.
yeah, when
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do something, it's in my head, like I'm talking to myself, like do this, do this, do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Same, I guess, same concept. But there's like, I don't know. I was reading this article just like completely bewildered. Like, how can that possibly even be that somebody could get through life without like
Yeah.
talking to
Isn't that
themselves?
just thinking? Like, there's people.
Right.
I know there's people that don't think.
I mean,
But
I mean,
like,
more than
How did they
thinking
study
though.
this?
Like, do you talk to a like an inner like I talk to somebody in my head. Like I have like when I'm having like an interaction or I'm alone, like I'm like, oh, I need to go get a beer, and there's like a conversation with nobody going on in my head. Like
yeah,
I can
I
get
don't know
that.
if everybody does that, but I definitely do it.
yeah.
Well, they say like you're crazy if you like what do they say? Like if you talk to yourself, that's fine, but if you answer, you're crazy. But
Yeah.
I don't think that. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I answer myself.
Yeah. I talk to
I don't
myself
think that
sometimes.
either, man. Yeah,
Oh
It is
I
what it
actually
man,
is.
I
I'm
It's
love
reassuring.
crazy.
it's
I'm crazy.
yeah.
Crazy
I'm
like a clock.
crazy.
I love being alone in my own head, man. Like if left to my own demise, I won't say a word for hours and hours and hours. And eventually when I hear a noise, like my self-talk, I'm like, "Oh," like I like startle
I'm like,
myself because
what
I'm
was
like
it?
I haven't
What
spoke
was it?
in hours.
Especially when I get like real into video games or something like, or like
Oh
a movie.
yeah.
If I'm doing something, if I have these headphones on, if I'm not talking for a while, you hear something that's
Zone.
makes you take them off. What was that? I
But
haven't
like
heard a
even
sound.
even in my head, I say, "What was that?" Like I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I might
yeah,
not say it out
yeah.
loud, but I'm like, "What was
Yeah.
that?" But it just
Good.
doesn't come out as words. Yeah, that's really weird that people don't actually have that. Like the only situation I can think of is someone that was born deaf. That's the
Yeah.
Or
only way
blind.
I could think of.
Because
I
they
wonder
have no
blind
idea.
too. Like when I think you obviously think in pictures, like
Yeah.
what do they think of? Like
Hmm.
because you think of places, people, faces,
Yeah. You
whatever
don't
it
know what
be.
anything looks like.
You don't know what
So
anything looks like.
I feel like
So
I'd rather be blind in that case. Like because you can at least imagine it. Like you can be described what it is and you can at least like sort of put the picture together, but
but how? I
yeah.
mean, like
I
you
mean,
don't know what orange is. Like I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I
it's
guess
an
that's
orange
true.
round ball. Like you don't know what round. You don't know. I mean, I guess you could feel round. So round you
yeah.
do, but like
If you
orange
can
definitely
see,
not.
you can watch movies. But if you can hear, you can listen to music. So it's like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
Yeah.
tough.
it is
I've
tough.
always said I think I'd rather be blind than deaf, but
I don't even know, man. I wouldn't
Yeah,
be
I'd have
able
to
to
think
pick.
Oh
about
wait,
that,
no,
man.
I had a different answer to this. It was like I'd rather be born what was it? I think I'd rather be born deaf, but I'd rather lose my vision because I know what things look like now. Like right now it wouldn't be that big of a
Yeah,
deal. Like I mean, it would be a big deal. That sounds awful, but
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
dude.
I know.
like
I
Life
know what
change.
you're saying.
I could cope better. But if I couldn't
Yeah,
hear anything, I feel like you'd lose that like that sense, that like
yeah,
I don't know. It'd be weird. Like I think I'd just rather lose my vision, but I'd rather be born
definitely.
without hearing. Like that sounds
Yeah.
weird, coming from someone that
Hmm.
Is
doesn't have a
blessed with
choice.
those.
I know what
Yeah,
you're saying.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's
That's
that's a
crazy.
tough.
interesting.
That's a tough
Yeah,
decision.
I didn't know that.
so people don't have an inner monologue.
Opening
I
up our
was
mind
really.
at the
It
beginning of
would
the
have been
podcast.
more interesting if one of us would have been like, "Yeah, man, I
Like,
don't think like that."
what's
Like
an inner
that.
monologue?
Yeah, like that would have been way more interesting.
How have I not known this about
You
you?
idiots talk to yourself.
Every one of
Yeah.
you are crazy.
It's not an inner. You're just crazy.
I just
You're
feel
crazy.
like
all of you are crazy.
like even more than just like the day to day, like it's your conscience growing, you know? Like I feel like I talk to myself like a conscience. I mean, obviously not anymore because I'm like much older, but you know, when you're like a teenager, no, that's right, that's wrong. Like you think
Yeah.
those things. Like that's
That's
inner
me.
monologue. That's Jiminy Cricket talking to
That-
me, you know, that's
that's
my
like-
conscience.
Your
Yeah.
angel and devil on your shoulders.
Exactly. Like I don't know, man. I mean, it was enough that like I said, there was a few articles. I read just one, but there was a few articles written about it. No statistics or numbers or anything though, but just like people like on Twitter like
Yeah.
talking back and forth.